Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has finally happened. Can you believe it? Not only has AEW Dynamite debuted on television, but it's also National Hood Week. I mean, I can't believe that these two things have come together at the same time, but that is just the way that life works. And also, welcome, hello. You may have just found this little series known as Ups and Downs for the first time, because that's what we're hoping All Elite Wrestling does. We're hoping it brings in new wrestling fans, calls back old lapsed fans, and of course continues to satisfy us, the hardcore fans. But my name is Simon Miller. You are indeed watching WhatCulture Wrestling. And for the first time ever, history happening right here, let's up those downs for AEW Dynamite. That was a gun. The start of Dynamite was absolutely excellent. There's no two ways about it, because it's as simple as this. If you have a crowd that is as excited and as hot as they were, you can't help but get into it. It looked absolutely amazing, and also, I really enjoyed having Tony Schiavone back on my television doing commentary. I forgot how good he was, and for me, other than the odd little bit that he's done here and there, it's the first time I've heard his voice in around about 20 years. I was a kid again, and I miss being a kid. I'm getting old. One day I'm going to be dead. Giving it up. It was then Cody versus Sammy Guevara, and very nicely AEW gave us a video package to let us know what was going on. Cody has to win this match, because if he doesn't, his world title shot at Chris Jericho is probably going to go out the window. And Sammy Guevara is here to show everybody that he is the next big thing. Not Brock Lesnar, that would be weird, but it worked wonderfully well. It made me pleased, it made me happy. Give it up. And as for the match itself, well, get your angry comments ready, but what do you want from me? It was just really fun. The real joy was that I kept being told that wins and losses matter, and I want to believe in wins and losses because it makes the whole product so much more believable. And after some standard mat wrestling, they both went, screw this, let's just start going absolutely nuts, which is what they did. And again, the crowd just roared their approval. Cody Rhodes came across like a 2019 version of Hulk Hogan. That is how beloved he was. It wasn't always just straight stuff either. At one point, Sammy saw that Cody was about to dive out of the ring. So do you know what that dastardly asshole did? He grabbed Brandy Rose, who was also at ringside, and he dragged her in the way, which meant husband hit wife. That is not cool. A few minutes later, Brandy got her revenge when she just hit Guevara with her shoe, and that kind of set up the finish. Not really, but it kind of did. Because hilariously, and this really did make me laugh, I was cracking up, sat there on my sofa going, I love wrestling. Sometimes it just feeds me seeds. Like a little bird, I'm like, give me more. Here's what happened. Sammy Guevara went for his shooting star press. Cody got his knees up, and how did he defeat him? By using the most devastating finisher in all of pro wrestling, the rolled up, the cradle. I was the happiest man ever, the happiest man ever. Now look, we obviously, when we do WWE ups and downs, we focus on that a lot because WWE focuses on that a lot, and AEW doesn't have to worry about that stuff. But here are ups and downs. It makes me laugh, it makes me chuckle. We're bringing it up. Cody gets the win. Cody was meant to do a post-match promo after this as well, but then Chris Jericho turned up and he absolutely whooped the ass of his next challenger, and that made sense as well, because if you were brand new to All Elite Wrestling, now you know that yes, Chris Jericho, the guy you may recognize from WWE, is our world champion, but also, and maybe more importantly, is a massive dick. And then in an incredible move, AEW actually had one match follow another match. I mean, can you believe it? I'm only joking around. I just want to make it clear, I love all of wrestling. There's no bias here, unless of course we start talking about Rusev, but you already know that. But it was MJF versus Brandon Cutler. Yeah, no. This kind of served the same purpose too, just show off some characters and let us know the motivations behind each, which is why, as MJF was heading to the ring, he was allowed to cut a heel promo where he came across like a massive prick. And I use the word prick because Tony Schiavone sat there and said, hey, MJF is a massive prick. TV14 does have some benefits. MJF was just an ass throughout until eventually he distracted the referee, and that allowed him to get a cheap shot in. He then locked in the Fujiwara armbar, he tapped him out, MJF gets his first victory on Dynamite, and remember that referee thing? we're going to talk about it later. It was then time for some nonsense. And ever since All Elite Wrestling was born, all I've heard from some people is, it's going to be really boring. You're not going to have any fun. And what do you know? They were having a stupid vignette within the first, 20 minutes? Give it up. We had 2 skits and both were as ludicrous as each other. The first saw Jack Evans come out to confront Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, or Jay and Silent Bob, who were in the crowd. And I quite like that, just because mostly I like Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes. And it also allowed Jason Mewes to get on a microphone and insult Jack Evans by saying, hey, maybe you should go and win a match sometime. And then Jack Evans was like, yeah, well, all your movies are crap. They eventually got chased off by Private Party, but then we got to the really good stuff. Because SCU were on the big screens and they were doing a Secret Service gimmick because, of course, AEW #1 is coming live from Washington, D.C. They're outside the White House, and my word, Scorpio Sky does a good Barack Obama impression. He will be Marak Balama in WWE before you know it, and then we cut back to the arena. And I love this, I really did, because again, I'm old and one day I'm gonna die. But they did their promo, they did their little speaking bit in front of the entranceway, and that is what WCW used to do all the time. Eventually they were confronted by the Lucha Brothers. The Lucha Brothers said, hey, we're the best tag team ever, which means you guys suck. They had a brawl. Eventually they were pulled apart. So again, there ain't nothing spectacular here, but you know that these guys are gonna feud and they just wanna prove who is the better team. Nice and easy. And we did the same when the camera cut backstage to Kenny Omega and the Bucks, as well as Chris Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz, because JR threw in a very nice line when we were focused on the bad guys. And they said, oh, sorry about this, but we're just going to listen in. We're going to eavesdrop on the champs' conversation. And we didn't really get much out of this, but just a nice little tease, a nice little note to make it feel a little bit different. And what followed that was Hangman Page versus Pac. I mean, what the hell do you want from me? Give it up. Again, the crowd were the MVPs because they were so loud during this, it actually felt like a WrestleMania main event. And you're out there going, well, you should really watch it, Simon, without the crowd noise, but that's absolutely ridiculous because I did have the crowd noise, and crowd noise can make a good match amazing, much as they did at WrestleMania 18 between Hulk Hogan and The Rock. If you watch that on silent, it's one of the worst things ever, but with noise, it's incredible. It ties into like video game people that go, well, the Batman games wouldn't be any good if Batman wasn't in it. He's in it. He's literally in it the entire time. The really cool thing is that both just went back and forth for ages doing some pretty damn impressive moves, and you'd have to imagine this was what originally was going to be on that pay-per-view when Pat got pulled at the last minute. But then, as soon as the man that gravity forgot took over, he was just such a sick bastard, surprise, surprise, and he is an incredible heel. It was really well structured until we got to the finish. And here we go. Pac managed to get the advantage back by distracting the referee, who was El Herbner, kind of like pulled him into a little bit, which then allowed Pac to hit Hangman Page with a low blow. He then hit him with a black arrow and made him tap out to the brutalizer. And look, I love that submission move. I think it's absolutely awesome, especially for somebody with Pac's skill set. However, we do have to look at the last 2 matches and say, referee distraction, and we wouldn't let somebody else get away with that. So I can't believe I'm doing this. This is the end of me. I mentioned twice, this is the 3rd time that one day I was going to die. Little did I know that I was going to be murdered in the comments. Down. This was still brilliant though, don't get me wrong, and Hangman Page tapping out to that submission move almost instantly just makes it come across as absolutely devastating. Also, if you are keeping score, Pac is now 2-0 in AEW, whereas Hangman Page, the future, is 0-2. Storylines. I missed. Storylines. Stuff kept on rolling too, because it was then time to crown our first ever women's champion in All Elite Wrestling. It was Riho versus Nyla Rose. Some people on the internet saying they didn't like it. Again, worked for me, give it up. The best part of all of this is that Rose gets treated like an absolute monster. At one point, Riho gave her the double stomp, and Nyla Rose sold it like an absolute champ. And I love it when intimidating people no stealth stuff, it just works. It's the same deal when she kept catching Riho out of midair. You're just like, my word, how is the small little person gonna take out the massive big person? It's simple. They didn't hold back either, as once again AEW reminded us all that they are TV-14, because Nyla Rose set up a bunch of chairs, and she thought to herself, I'll just now put Riho here and cannonball into these chairs, but she was too slow. Riho got out of the way, and Nyla just went smashing into them. I can't imagine she's feeling too spruce moose this morning. And saying that, she's definitely not, because then Riho climbed to the top rope, and she gave her the double stump from there. And once again, the crowd erupted like a volcano. By the end of this too, they had the crowd in the palm of their hands, and they even teased what happened at Fyter Fest, because Riho cradled up Nyla Rose, which of course is how she got the win there. That annoyed the challenger, So she just picked her up and DVD'd her ass right into the floor. That was a near fall too. You could smell the end though, and that did come when Riho finally hit another double stomp, and yes, she is your brand new women's champion. Nyla Rose kicked out of this around about 3.3 because she was channeling her inner Hulk Hogan, but that worked, and it probably allows Nyla Rose to moan about that for at least 4 weeks. And they'll likely have a rematch. I think it was a good advertisement for what we can expect when it comes to women's wrestling in AEW. And look, no, was it the best match I've ever seen? Absolutely not. Were there some mistakes here and there? Yes, but I don't focus on that here, on ups and downs, because everybody makes mistakes. We're all human beings. If right now you've never made a mistake, you go nuts, you make a bunch of crazy fuss about it. I thought for what this was, it did what it had to do. There was also a very interesting post-match angle because Michael Nakazawa was out there to interview our new women's champion, and Nyla was like, nah, screw that, I'm just gonna beat her up. And then she turned to Mike and she beat him up too. Gave him a powerbomb until none other than Kenny Omega made the save, and that made my brain go, well, where the hell are we going with this? I will keep my eyes peeled. It was main event time after this, and there was more evidence that if you were worried that we wouldn't get any madness in All Elite Wrestling, well, they proved you wrong, give it up. It was, of course, the Golden Elite versus Jericho versus Santana versus Ortiz, and really, you don't even have to worry about it. I mean, one spot I will throw at you is that Jericho had Kenny Omega in the walls, and Matt and Nick Jackson just got in the ring and double super kicked him and then turned around and double super kicked everybody else. The spot was tailor-made for this audience as what was happened next, because as Kenny Omega stood in the ring, none other than Jon Moxley appeared from behind him, and those two started to whip each other's behinds like they were going to lose their asses the next day. I mean, they fought through the crowd, they were here, they were there, and eventually it ended when Moxley hooked Kenny Omega up for the Death Rider DDT, and he drove him through a glass table. I mean, talk about setting a scene. We are not mucking around here. But once again, this is me pulling in the fairness. We do have to be fair. I loved all of this, but how can a dude get attacked in the middle of an official match and the referee just look at it and go, nah, I'm just gonna let that fly because I don't give two craps. And when we take that into, the equation, much like we did earlier, I push my button to get out of the way because I just know people are gonna get so mad, but it's gotta go down. It would get down in any other promotion, so it has to get down in this promotion. See ya. And yes, it was really entertaining, and I'm just being a massive dick, but I'm also a critic, and I've got to put my critic hood on. From here, the Young Bucks just went into full Young Bucks mode, especially because they realized, oh man, we don't have a guy now, we're down 2-3, and just as they were about to hit the Meltzer driver, Chris Jericho flew in and smashed them with a code breaker. Then Matt Jackson was getting beaten up. Eventually, he got Judas effect. They were done. Your champion and his mates get the big win. And things weren't even done though, not by a long shot, because then from nowhere, Cody was out and he was beating up Chris Jericho because he was pissed off with him. Then Sammy Guevara was back out and he was booting Cody Rhodes right in the balls. And then Dustin Runnels was here just to clear house. And then from nowhere, Jack Hager, the former Jack Swagger, appeared. And I mean, there have been rumors that he was going to be on this show, but still seeing it and again getting the reaction was absolutely crazy. And he teamed up with the bad guys to kick some ass. And this was doubly fun for me because I've always been a fan of the All-American American. There's actually audio out there circa 2012 where there's proof of that, where I gave him like a Jack Swagger train of fun, don't worry about it. But we will real name it right here. We will bring it back in 2019 as Jack Hager's Bulldozer of Noise. I don't know, it was just cool to see a recognizable face and a kind of unexpected one at the close of the show. It also made you want to tune in next week, but the real highlight was when we cut to a guy in the crowd and he was just flipping Hager off. I mean, there you go. There is some adult entertainment for you. No, not adult entertainment. Entertainment, don't worry about it. On top of that, the coming together of all of these guys felt very NWO, and I mean that as a compliment. I love a good wrestling stable, and when was the last time one was formed like this? They actually feel like a threat. A special shout out to Sammy Guevara too, because don't forget, after his match with Cody, he shook his hand even though he knew later on in the evening what the plan was. And do you know why that is great? Because that is storytelling, my friends, but it's storytelling beneath the surface. They don't throw it in your face. You just have to put all the wires together. And when you do, you're like, man, I am wired up. Brilliant. You find it yourself, and when you do, you feel proud that you enjoyed the show. So that was the end of AEW Dynamite #1. Look, don't get me wrong, there is still plenty more we need to do. We need more promos, we need some more storytelling, and we don't just want it to be match every week because we will get burned out. But again, you have to remember, it's the debut, it's #1. They've never done anything like this before, and I think we've got to put our hands in the air like I'm doing now and then clap and say, good job all around. Did I have fun? Was I entertained? Am I happy? Yes, yes, yes. Spinning arrow, it gets an up. I'm ready to see what they've got in 7 days' time. However, I do need to bring one final thing up before we do bring everything to a close, and that is this. I do not expect every single member of the AEW roster to be on every single show. In fact, I want it to go the other way around. I want to miss some people because it makes them feel like bigger stars. With that said, I promised a dinosaur. I didn't get a dinosaur. I want Luchasaurus to be featured on every single minute of every single show. And I didn't get that. I didn't get my T-Rex fix. And therefore, here, right now, introducing a brand new down. It is the Dinosaur Down. And every single time Luchasaurus isn't on Dynamite, I am going to give a Dinosaur Down. Obviously, I forget eventually because that's just what I do. The Dinosaur Down. Luchasaurus, you my guy. Which also means so far it's been an excellent week for wrestling because Raw kicked ass, AEW kicks ass, and now we pass it over to SmackDown, or Friday Night SmackDown as it's now known, to see if they can kick ass as well. But before then, leave a comment below, let me know what a dick I am for saying all these terrible things that you don't like. I know how it works. Like, share and subscribe, head on to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. My name is Simon for WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching this first ever episode of Ups and Downs for Dynamite. I'm absolutely pumped to see where we go in the future. And deep down, I just love wrestling. What a nerd, what a geek, what a bored asshole. Happy National Hood Week.